As airsofters, we often look for the best. But what would happen if we looked for the worst? Looking, that is. Full disclosure, just before the video begins, this is all just based on my opinion, man. This is all just my opinion. So if you like any of these guns, hey, more power to you. Sometimes rocking an ugly gun is a vibe. Coming in at the number 5 spot is the ARX 160, fully licensed by Elite Force, and in my opinion, the least ugly gun on this list. Basically is what would happen if the Italians looked at the Scar L, said, hey, we can go ahead and make that at home. And they took the inspirations from a fish as far as their design cues, and lo and behold, here we go. And even though this is basically Scar L at home, it is essential because it's an Italian home. It's the Chef Boyardee of airsoft guns. Externally, the gun is sporting a full polymer construction. It's polymer where it needs to be and metal where it needs to be, just like the real one. It does sport a top monolithic rail. Again, you have plenty of space to mount whatever accessories you so choose, whether it be a red dot or maybe a pack box. You want to put a magnifier in here, whatever you can think of, you have the space for it. There's also rail space on the sides and on the bottom. This portion of the handguard is removable, so you can go ahead and access more Picatinny space as well. It also sports a side folding and adjustable stock. Some unique, say, quirky things about the ARX 160 to note. It is using ambi fire controls, which very modern, very 21st century. I love that. It also sports a switch here, which can activate the quick release barrel system, which is for some reason needed. I get it, on the real deal, it is going to feature that as well. But this is also airsoft, but now I want to see that. I want to make sure, if you want to get the true ARX 160 experience, especially if you're in the Milsim game, I need you to go ahead and carry on your kit spare barrels for this guy. And after about, let's say, 3 magazines, you have to go ahead and swap out the outer barrel. So the reason why the ARX 160 is so low on the list, the biggest reason, I like it. I actually really like it, and I want it.
Honestly though, I really want one as well.
See?
I've been wanting one for a while.
There you go. Italian operators. Boaz wants one. I want one. You never know. Again, but the biggest reason, or I guess on a more serious note, the ARX 160 is still in use with various military and law enforcement units around the world. So if you wanted to put together, say, a more unique Milsim kit, this gun very well might serve its purpose. And honestly, the price point for these, not too terrible. So now we're going to get deeper into this. We're going to start talking about some other guns. Now comes the point where the guns on this list are going to be, they kind of remind you of your friend when they start dating someone. You know, they're not necessarily the most attractive, they're not the prettiest face to look at, but you look at your friend and how happy they are with their guns and you just say, you know what, as long as that makes you happy, man. Taking the number 4 spot on the list has got to be the Lancer Tactical Enforcer Pro Line Needle Tail AEG. Don't get me wrong, I see exactly what Lancer was going for with this 1-2 combo, trying to combine the pistol grip and the stock together in this sort of sci-fi-esque aesthetic, and I think it's pretty cool. It kind of works, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad design and it does function, right? I mean, take the stock itself, it is adjustable.
Wait, what the heck?
What? The stock?
What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm adjusting the stock.
You can do that?
Yes, did you not know that?
That's a thing?
Yes, it's always been a thing. Anyway, taking that aside, again, it's not a bad design. I think it is very practical, and I wouldn't mind Lancer revising this, maybe coming out with a second version of this. But in its current state, I'm just not jiving with it. Lancer, if you're listening, maybe consider hiring a different designer, maybe. Despite my opinions on the stock looking a little bit weird, it is a very well thought out and practical stock. It does come included with 2 cutie sling points on either side of the stock, fully adjustable for whatever length of pull you need to, as I mentioned earlier. It is rewired, so you do get a little bit more battery space. However, the weirdest feature about the stock has got to be the space to accommodate an additional magazine. Now, every Lancer Tactical that you order that comes included with an alpha stock will also come included with a low cap 90 round magazine, which I thought was really cool. Now, you can go ahead and swap it out with a regular style magazine, just like so. But in my opinion, it just looks the best with the low cap magazine. When you put that in the gun, it just kind of feels more sci-fi, you know, because in the future, you use less ammo. Honestly, these magazines are actually really dope. We do sell them online. Lancer does make them individually, but they're always sold out. Lancer, again, if you're watching this, make more of these so Boaz and I can run them too. Everything else about the gun is actually pretty good. I actually am a big fan of the polymer upper and lower receiver. I love the little flat trigger they include, and the rail system that they have is full metal, just like all hybrids, but it's going to be a lot more aggressive and has M-LOK space. Again, overall, not bad. Overall, I'd say the performance is actually pretty good, really solid. It's going to be better than the ARX 160 because, again, this is part of the Gen 2 lineup. Again, no issues on my end. I'm actually a big fan. Coming in at the number 3 spot has got to be the Classic Army Scarab. And why does it exist? The Classic Army Scarab makes me question things like, why did Classic Army choose to develop their own weird M4 kind of hybrid scar looking thing? There's just so many design cues on this thing that really make me wonder, what were they thinking? Classic Army makes several different versions of the Scarab, and to me, they all look terrible. But out of all of them, this is the most terrible looking out of all of them. And we're gonna get into why. Let's talk about the upper receiver and rail system, because they're attached. It's one-piece system, which means you can't change out the rail system, which, again, you're looking for something that isn't an M4, might not be a problem. However, they chose to make it key mod. Newsflash, key mod's dead. You backed the losing horse. Like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just go with M-Lock? And not only that, but underneath you do get a Picatinny segment. Like, why did it not choose to just commit to one? I don't know, it just really makes me upset when I look at that, and I think it's a big-ass crime.
You know what the biggest crime of all is?
No, what?
You know what the biggest crime is?
No, what?
The overhang on the handguard.
Okay.
Like, it's so ugly, bro. It is so ugly,
Yeah.
and because it's overhang, you can't even mount any kind of like muzzle accessory
Yeah,
or
you
muzzle
can. I mean,
device.
there's threads on the outside.
No. Like, if there's any overhang at all, like, it's gonna get on the way.
You're trying to honey badger this, aren't you?
I was getting into that. You cannot honey badger this.
That makes sense.
Why would you not want to honey badger this? Why?
The other reason why I hate this design has got to be the stock. I mean, look at this thing. First of all, why would you put a PDW stock on this length of a rifle? I get on some of the other Scarabs, it kind of makes sense, especially on the shorter ones, but why this one? Look at all this negative space you have too. Classic Army, you manufacture the BAS stock. That's got to be one of my favorite PDW stocks on the market. You put it on the X9, you put it on the PXG9, why could you not just put it on this guy specifically? Like, why? What was stopping you? With the BAS stock, you could have offered the user plenty more battery space, but no, you chose to make it front wired. And not only that, you don't even give the user that much space. You have to use an Allen key to go ahead and remove these two screws, and you have to try to fit a tri-panel up there, but you don't even get that much space. It's super tight. Why? Setting aside my rage, let's go over some of the few quirky things about this gun. It is sporting fully ambidextrous fire controls, very cool, I guess. However, the quirkiest thing about this gun, if you want to call it that, has got to be the weight. Now, for what this gun is, this rifle is heavy. It is very, very heavy. If I see users rocking a Scarab on the field, I wouldn't want to mess with them. Their arms are probably jacked from carrying this thing all day. Internally is where the gun starts to redeem itself, because the internals are essentially that of a Classic Army Nemesis, which is Classic Army's top-of-the-line models, which I've always been a very big fan of. You are getting a standard version 2 gearbox, which can be upgraded. However, it comes pre-installed with an ECS programmable trigger unit, so you can program 3-round bursts, 5-round bursts, or semi-lock it, 603 Type 4 inner barrel, rotary style hop chamber, quicker change spring system, and an upgraded motor. With all those features, it almost makes you forget how ugly this gun is. Wrapping up, the performance on the Scarab is beyond solid. This thing shoots like it's a $400 airsoft gun. However, it is incredibly cheap. I mean, deeply discounted at airsoftgi.com. Ludicrously cheap. Probably because Classic Army is more than likely trying to forget. They're trying to wash away the sins of their past. However, if you were looking for something that wasn't a run-of-the-mill M4, full metal construction, and shoots like a high-end AEG, there you go. Coming in the number 2 spot is the Ares AM005 SMG. This is not an SMG. There are so many things I want to say about this gun. There are so many things that YouTube won't allow me to say about this gun. Just look at it. It's hideous. What really blows my mind is that someone at Ares drew up this gun and said, yes, this is a fantastic idea. Let's sell a bunch of these. Newsflash, they did not sell a bunch of these. So right out the gate, you get a polymer folding stock. Yay. You also get a little pity vertical grip, they gave it to you out of pity, and you get a integrated mock suppressor with an orange tape painted on. Cool, I guess. But other than that, you are getting a polymer upper and lower receiver. You do get some Picatinny segments up on the top of the rail system, of course, and of course on the bottom and the sides as well. And that's about it. Perhaps the quirkiest feature about the AM005 is because there's no stock and there's no space inside of the rail system to accommodate a battery, they put the battery on top of the gearbox, which is again, a pretty big contributing factor as to why it's pretty damn hideous. You remove these two little buttons here, and it slides right off, and you have enough space for an AK-style LiPo battery. Cool. I guess if you wanted that. I don't really know what else to say about this gun, other than the fact that it's so hideous. Internally, the gun is using a version 2 gearbox, which comes pre-installed with Ares' proprietary ETU, which is supposed to be programmable, but again, it is a proprietary unit, so you cannot swap it out for any other. So basically, Ares is saying, you know, hey, pray that it just doesn't burn out on its own. When it comes to the performance overall, it's okay. It's not terrible. I've definitely seen worse, but I've also seen a lot better. I just don't know who this was designed for. It can't be designed for the CQB players because, again, this MOX suppressor is integrated and it's positive thread, so it's not like you can easily swap it out for something like that uses regular 14mm counterclockwise threads. Cisco has stated previously that you could probably use this as like a secondary or like a sidearm for like a sniper, but there are other guns that do that way better and look cool too. I guess the only real use I could see for this guy, maybe if you yeet the stock, get rid of the MOX suppressor, and get rid of the vertical grip. I guess if you wanted to do like a Warhammer 40k cosplay, kind of looks like the bolter pistol, but other than that, that's about it.
Hey, so what is the price on these guys?
These guys, the AM005, they retail for $260.
Wait, what?
$260. And this is what you get.
That's kind of a bad deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Ares, if you're listening, you should look at Classic Army and see what they're doing with all their mistakes. Lower the price on these, get rid of them, and move on.
Before we reveal the #1 spot of the ugliest airsoft gun, I want to give a dishonorable mention to the Zion Arms PW9, the original one. This gun is not the worst, it's definitely some worse stuff on this list, but I do have to say there are a few things that I'm not the biggest fan of. The main reason that kept it from being on the list was the fact that even though it is using this Picatinny end cap, once you slap on a folding stock adapter that again that just mounts onto via Picatinny, it actually looks pretty solid. As I mentioned before, you can source a different stock that mounts via Picatinny like Atlas Custom Works, or even if you want to get like a real MCX stock, that'll also do as well. The main reason that this is so low in this spot on this list is because the actual real firearms counterpart is set up just like this as well. Another way to remedy the issue would be to buy the Mod 1 variant of the PW9, which will come included with a standard buffer tube and stock assembly, which fixes basically all the problems there. But it does beg the question, Zion Arms, why didn't you just release the original version with the folding stock? That would have been a lot better. However, when it comes to the internals of the PW9, this thing absolutely slaps. There are so many features you get out of the box. 603 Type 4 inner barrel, rotary cell hop-up chamber, the Nebula MOSFET pre-installed, where again, you have so much programming options. It's super, super cool, but it's still very ugly. And coming in at the #1 spot for the ugliest airsoft gun is the G&G PRK9 RTS. Everything about this gun is just slightly off. The more I look at it, there's more wrong with it. It just makes me viscerally angry having to look at this thing. First thing you're gonna notice about the gun is that it's trying to be a PP19. So, why didn't you just make it a PP19? The magazines, they look cool. They look really cool. I like this translucent effect. However, you still have to rock them in like a traditional AK. That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just make it compatible with the PP19 magazines that are currently available? There are plenty of PP19s on the market. You could have just very easily made this a PP19. Moving on to the upper receiver group, it's not using a traditional AK design, which by itself is not a bad thing. In fact, sometimes that can actually be pretty cool. But this is just so incorrectly made. It's just so wrong. It looks like it was just smushed together. It's so compact and condensed. The only thing I like is that the top of the dust cover is going to be railed, and that's it, G&G. That is literally all I'm giving you on this one. Let's take a look at the handguard. What handguard? There's almost none to speak of. It's so small. You are going to be incredibly limited when it comes to accessories. You might be able to get a few on there, but again, not exactly a whole lot of choice there. And just look at the size, right? Again, look at the size of the receiver, compare that to the handguard. It's just so off. It's just G&G designers. I highly recommend you check out the Fibonacci sequence and you read up on the golden ratio. It might do you some good. Now we move on to the tip. What exactly is going on here? This is supposed to be an AK style flash hider. This is not an AK. It could have been a PP19, but you missed that as well. Again, you could have put in something like a muzzle brake, maybe some type of compensator, anything but this yee ass freaking flash hider. It's very upsetting. You know, after staring at the PRK for this time, I do have to admit, the pistol grip, it's not the worst. The enlarged trigger guard, it's okay. And even the stock is not too bad either. And the gun is full metal construction. Oh wait, it's G&G. You know what that means, G&G full metal? You're gonna be at least spending $400. Because this gun is so cursed, it's going to come included with a few quirks as well. The first being a hinged dust cover, which is a positive. That's a good feature. It makes accessing the battery compartment a lot easier to deal with. Dealing with traditional AK dust covers can sometimes be annoying. Another feature is going to be a finger shelf for the controls. Again, just makes it a little bit more comfortable. And a semi-folding stock. I say semi-folding stock because you're almost never going to use it because it requires so much force to get that stock to fold. And now that I think about it, G&G, you have a buffer tube and a stock in place. Why you didn't just make it rear wired? It would have been so much easier to put a battery in there. Why? I don't know if this counts as a quirk, but instead of using traditional AK sights, it has its detachable rear sight. I don't know, I just figured I might as well include that. The internals of this airsoft gun are what you come to expect from G&G. They're going to be solid. You are getting a standard version 3 gearbox, which is fully upgradable, a pre-installed ETU, which is programmable, a nice rotary style hop chamber, which you actually don't see very many of those on version 3 or like AK style guns. But with all that being said, it's still not enough to forgive just how bad the externals really are. But the biggest offense has to be the price. G&G, why do all your metal guns have to be $400? Just why? Especially for this thing. G&G, if you're listening, please take a note from Classic Army, right? Drop the price by like half, right? And then once you get rid of that, design an actual PP19. I guarantee you they will be flying off the shelves, at least doing a lot better than this monstrosity. All right, guys, that concludes this list of the top 5 ugliest airsoft guns, in my opinion. If you guys think that there are uglier airsoft guns or more horrendous looking stuff, make sure to go ahead and leave it down in the comments. Homemade guns do not count. If you want to go ahead and support the channel directly, make sure to shop for all your airsoft goods at airsoftgi.com. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Isaias, and I will see you guys on the next one.